You are listening to KSG podcast. This is a short, crisp, concise, exam-oriented, edited editorial for civil services aspirants. In this podcast, we are going to talk about weapons of mass destruction. Source for the content is the Indian Express. The Weapons of Mass Destruction and Their Delivery Systems Prohibition of Unlawful Activities Amendment Bill 2022 has been unanimously passed in Lok Sabha. The bill seeks to amend the Weapons of Mass Destruction and Their Delivery Systems Prohibition of Unlawful Activities Act 2005 to provide against the financing of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and their delivery systems in line with India's international obligations. The 2005 Act prohibited the manufacturing, transport, and the transfer of weapons of mass destruction and the means of delivery. According to the statement of objects and reasons of the bill, the need to amend the Act has arisen from the fact that in recent times, regulations relating to proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and their delivery systems by international organizations have expanded, and the United Nations Security Council's targeted financial sanctions and the recommendations of the Financial Action Task Force have mandated against financing of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and their delivery systems. The expression weapon of mass destruction or WMD is usually considered to have been used first by the leader of the Church of England, the Archbishop of Canterbury, in 1937 to refer to the aerial bombing of civilians in the Basque town of Guernica by German and Italian fascists in support of General Franco during the Spanish Civil War. The expression WMD entered the vocabularies of people and countries around the world in the early 2000s after the US under President George W. Bush and the UK under Prime Minister Tony Blair justified the invasion of Iraq on the grounds that the government of Saddam Hussein was hiding these weapons in the country. No WMDs were ever found. Now, talking about the NBC weapons, while there is no single authoritative definition of a WMD in international law, the expression is usually understood to cover nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons. According to the United States Department of Homeland Security, a weapon of mass destruction is a nuclear, radiological, chemical, biological, or other device that is intended to harm a large number of people. Now, India's 2005 WMD Act defines biological weapons as microbial or other biological agents or toxins of types and in quantities that have no justification of prophylactic, protective, or other peaceful purposes, and weapons, equipment, or delivery systems specially designed to use such agents or toxins for hostile purposes or in armed conflict, and chemical weapons as toxic chemicals and their precursors, except where used for peaceful, protective, and certain specified military and law enforcement purposes, munitions and devices specifically designed to cause death or other harm through the toxic properties of those toxic chemicals, and any equipment specifically designed for use in connection with the employment of these munitions and devices. Now, about the control over the use of WMDs, the use of chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons is regulated by a number of international treaties and agreements. Among them are the Geneva Protocol 1925 that banned the use of chemical and biological weapons, and the Biological Weapons Convention 1972 and Chemical Weapons Convention 1992, which put comprehensive bans on the biological and chemical weapons respectively. India has signed and ratified both the 1972 and 1992 treaties. There are very few non signatory countries to these treaties, even though several countries have been accused of non compliance. The use and proliferation of nuclear weapons is regulated by treaties such as Nuclear Non Proliferation Treaty and the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. That's it for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. To join KSG India courses and to crack the ICE exam, visit ksgindia.com. You can also get a PDF of this podcast on ksgindia.com.